Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views. Myself, Salala Makwidi. It's time for our hashtag Africa Focus feature. This is part of the show where we look at some of the pressing stories across the African continent. And this time around, we'll be looking at the conflict in Sudan as it continues to draw international scrutiny and condemnation. A new blow. The United States has imposed sanctions on a transnational network alleged to be recruiting former Colombian military personnel, even children, to fight alongside the RSF in Sudan. The network is accused of supplying frontline fighters tactical expertise, drone pilots, and even training child soldiers. And joining us today to unpack what this really means for Sudan, for regional stability, and for the international community is Ramadan Ahmed, political analyst, journalist, and editor at SudanHorizon.com. Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on Salam Media.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's a pleasure actually hosting me as well.
I think we'll jump right into it to try and get some understanding and insight on this U.S. sanction package. The sanctions seem to be targeting a network said to recruit ex-Colombian soldiers and supplying them to the RSF and even train children to fight. From your perspective, how credible are these claims, and what evidence has emerged so far about foreign combatants being used in Sudan?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakallah khair, brother, for hosting me, and I would like to greet your audiences all over. With regard to evidence, you are asking for evidence. Definitely, evidence is in the field, and all the organizations that are concerned with investigating atrocities. So the issue of mercenaries being used in Sudan is not something that is as questionable, because many of them have got killed, and the pictures that the RSF elements themselves are taking, these pictures show the participation of these mercenaries, let alone the documents, passports that have been seized in some of the areas captured by the Sudanese armed forces. Let alone the articles that are published by very renowned international newspapers such as New York Times and The Guardians, and you name it. So the issue of evidence is, there's no question about it. But now the question is, to what extent the measure taken by United States has any impact on the ground? That's the major question that is we need to answer. With regard to the impact on the ground, I don't think there is going to be any impact on the ground, but at least morally, there is some kind of impact, because there is a lot of denial from the United Arab Emirates that it is using mercenaries in Sudan. And the international community has come to know this without any doubt. So in terms of the influx of mercenaries to Sudan, maybe it can contribute to some extent. But the most important thing that the United States could have done is just to tell the United Arab Emirates to stop funding the RSF and sending arms and ammunition there. That is what is required. But at least this is a step that you cannot undermine. But at least it is it's on the way. That they say the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step, and I think this is the first step. But I think the biggest step is for the United States to tell the United Arab Emirates, please stop funding the RSF.
And I want to expand a bit on that. What does this, specific episode tell us about the international dimensions of the Sudan conflict? Because this is something that the Sudanese people have always spoken about. Just how much this war has been driven by foreign fighters, by foreign financial networks, and just transnational recruitments. It seems everyone from every part of the world is involved or wants to get involved in Sudan.
It's unfortunate that the situation in Sudan has been alluring these international and regional players, and each of them wanting to put on their foot on the soil of Sudan in order to partake in the looting of resources. Unfortunately, there was a better way for them to come and contribute and also to benefit and let the Sudanese people benefit. If they come as investors, definitely they will benefit, and the Sudanese people will benefit. But the unfortunate part is that imperialist mentality is that it doesn't want to share. It wants you to be the god on your own, the god of your own resources, so that they can come and loot and take as much as they want, without having any kind of accountability to the owners of these resources. The unfortunate part is that the United States is in a way or another complicit to what is happening in Sudan, because they are not taking the decision that, like how they did in Gaza. Although the war in Gaza didn't stop at the moment, the Israeli authorities are still bombarding the Palestinians, but at least the Americans did something, at least to stop war, even just by just name. In the case of Sudan, that's not, because the United Arab Emirates, until this time that I'm talking to you now, is still sending arms and doing everything possible to topple the government of Sudan and bring the RSF as a functional group to be operating in, to take power in Sudan. It's unfortunate. The United States could have done something better and something more tangible on the ground. All of us have seen the atrocities that the RSF is committing on the ground, the innocent people that have been killed, the resources that have been looted, the people that have lost their homes. Geneva has witnessed genocide, and all the international community is talking about it. Now, how many other genocides are we to wait to see when RSF, may Allah forbid, doesn't take any other cities in Sudan? So it's something very alarming, given that some organizations have already warned what would have happened or what would have been in Al-Fashir, but still the international community didn't take any step to stop it until it happened. That is unfortunate.
Most definitely. And speaking about the US doing more, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago when there was a proposed peace plan by the United States of America, and it was rejected by the two sides, the RSF and the SAF. Looking at that peace plan, I'm sure you've taken a look at it, you've analyzed it. What would you say were some of the hits and some of the misses from the United States and some of those that were involved in putting it together?
Yeah, in fact, it was a call for truce, and the RSF apparently accepted the truce, saying like that. The day or the moment they accepted truce, about 8 hours, they captured another city, the city of Babanusa. So they are just playing. The government of Sudan or the RSF or the Sudan Armed Forces, they said, look, these people, we had truces before with them before, but they never observed the truce. They just take the truce as a moment for them to relocate themselves, to equip themselves and get prepared for a new offense against the civilians. This is exactly what they did. The government is saying that we already had Jeddah agreement, and that Jeddah agreement stipulates that the RSF should take its forces and gather them outside the cities, and then they can negotiate how to either assimilate them into the army or release them and let them go to their families. The unfortunate part is that the international community, the so-called international community, and the United States, along with the quartet, which is composed of the United States, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. These people they say that the RSF must negotiate peace settlement, political settlement. RSF is not a political body, and it is just a paramilitary body that rebelled against the government. And now the solution is for them to dismantle and then either integrate into the army or be released. But that is not what the United States and UAE want. They want the RSF to be part of political arrangement, which the government doesn't want at all. And the Sudanese people don't accept this, given the atrocities they committed against the civilians. I don't think any Sudanese civilian or any Sudanese citizen can be happy seeing elements of the RSF assuming any political power in the country, given what they have done. And this is something very ridiculous. So let the United States listen to the Sudanese people, what the Sudanese people want. What the Sudanese people want is to have the rebel movement or this rebellion dismantled, the weapons handed over to the army, and then the government could see whether to assimilate the elements that are proven innocent into the army or release them and let them go to their relatives.
No, most definitely. I think good to on that note. Ahmed Ramadan, journalist and political analyst. Really, really appreciate you giving us the time. Always a pleasure.
Jazakallah khair, brother. Shukran.
I mean, and with that, we've come to the end of our hashtag Africa Focus feature, looking at Sudan and the crisis that has ensued there. But I think what's interesting is these sanctions by the US shine a spotlight on a hidden layer of Sudan's war. And this is something the people of Sudan have always spoken about: the international networks supplying manpower, supplying logistics, and financing this war in Sudan. And as he outlined, the sanctions alone won't end the violence or guarantee justice. It might not even be felt by the Sudanese people on the ground, but I think it marks the beginning of something very, very important when it comes to international crackdown, or simply, just another chapter of US involvement in this long conflict. But the impact of it, as I mentioned, remains to be seen. And again, here at Salam Media, we'll be following the developments closely. This has been our hashtag Africa Focus feature. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be having hashtag Fired Up with Hafiz Imran Chunara.